continue our support for SMEs. It has shown up in this data that small and medium enterprise, even micro enterprises, are very important in the Nigerian economy. So organizing to support that is very important. We've started, this has been a mantra of this government in the transformation, but we need to do more in the area of skills development and entrepreneurship training. The other day, I participated in the opening up of the Global Distance Learning Center, which is designed to help our graduates and other, even non-graduates, to acquire skills in various areas that can make them more entrepreneurial and give them training, and we're doing that. We need to support our SMEs with better infrastructure and access to finance, and so we also need to do that. Finally, in the area of housing, this is a big creator of jobs, and in housing and construction, there's quite a lot of activity. We need to drive that, and in the creative industries. Let me just end the list of sectors by mentioning insurance. Within our financial sector, our banking sector is strong, but we have much more opportunity to focus on insurance. So this is to give you an idea of the areas where, you know, policy has better information now than it did before. And we'll continue either what it's doing and do it more and better, or in those sectors we've not touched, subsectors, we will also do that. I just want to say a quick word on our debt management policies. The Statistician General showed that our debt to GDP ratio would fall from 19 to 11%. This does not change our debt policy whatsoever. This is not an opening for us to go and borrow more. No, we will remain prudent. We are not going to borrow more. We still have to look at things like debt service to revenue. And when you look at debt service to revenue, the picture is not quite as rosy. So we have to be very prudent so we don't spend more and more of our income servicing debt. So I just want to mention that the fact that the number looks better does not change policy. You know, we will remain with the present policy we have. I think for the private sector, these numbers are significant, both domestic and foreign private sector. It validates Nigeria's increased purchasing power. It's not that we're adding anything. We already have it. We're just measuring it. And I think people seeing it will make the country much more attractive to investors because it has a large and significant consumer and producer base and lots of opportunities that have now come up in these statistics. So both domestic direct investment and foreign direct investment, I think, will find this a much more attractive venue. Of course, it means we also, it doesn't mean that we don't have to work hard on all the other things we need to do, on infrastructure, on governance and corruption, on access to finance. We still have to work very hard. Above all, we have to work hard on building a social safety net, because we have been growing in a manner that is unequal. So inequality has been rising, and that has to be taken care of. We need better quality growth, meaning that all those sectors I mentioned, if we can get growth in them, that will improve the quality of our growth. So we should drive there. At the same time, we need to build a social safety net to take care of those at the bottom of the ladder. And that's another policy that the president has, in fact, convened a team, a task force, to try and put this together. Now, not all of the ratios, and I'll end there in a minute, not all of our ratios look good. I want to tell you that our tax to GDP or revenue to GDP ratio doesn't look that good anymore with a larger GDP. You know, we had a revenue to GDP ratio, tax to GDP ratio of about 20%, which is just about in the range for emerging market economies. But our non-oil tax to GDP ratio was quite low at 7%. With these new GDP numbers, we are not going to look so good. Our tax to revenue to GDP ratio will fall to about 12%, and 4% for non-oil tax to revenue. So this is not very pleasing, you know. So, but I want to tell you that already, thinking that we're on the way to diversification, we started moves to improve our non-oil tax to GDP by working with our Federal Inland Revenue Service to improve their approach to tax administration, and I think this is working. With the help of consultants, we are strengthening, closing the loopholes, strengthening tax administration, and I think we're on our way to improved tax collection, which will improve our tax revenue to GDP ratio. So that's just to illustrate to you that these numbers do not mean that we look good. If you look at our social spending, it's going to look smaller, for instance. So that means we have to work harder to improve all this in social sector spending. So let me just stop there and say that the new GDP numbers, we're happy that after such a long time we've been able to come up with the numbers that have been validated internally and externally, that we're happy that certain aspects are clearer for us to make policy, and we pledge that we use this information responsibly to run the kind of policies that will bring jobs and social protection to Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CME. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not easy to coordinate an economy like ours. I think we should encourage this woman by giving her a second round of applause. Thank you. Now it is time for questions and answers. And I want to invite my colleague, Mr. Paul Wabiugu, to handle this aspect.
Thank you very much. The feedback I have from our media friends is that they need to go back to send their stories. So we need to make this very, very fast. We're going to take about 5 questions, and if we're fast enough, we can take a couple of more, but our target is about 5. So who is going to start? Any questions? Don't tell me the media have run out of questions. Okay. I can't see him, but please come forward, please. Oh, true. Any mic? Please give him the mic. Okay.
Hi,
Yes.
I can project. Yeah. I'm Drew Hinshaw from Wall Street Journal. I'm just wondering if we could.
That was a live broadcast on the rebasing of the nation's gross domestic product, GDP, for the year 2014 from Abuja, the federal capital.